This is your standard reminder. I'm not a mechanic. I just can't afford one. If you remember where we left you off last time, we started disassembling some of the power steering components because we had some leaks in some hoses and some leaks in the power steering motor that goes up in there. And we did a little bit of fabrication and paint work, replaced a whole bunch of other parts. And there is a playlist in the description. You need to check it out. We've done a ton to this old backhoe that we got from Clint from CNC Equipment. And today we're going to keep moving forward. But because it is sprinkling right now, we're just going to have to use the old back of the Fubaru here as our assembly bench. What a fancy setup, huh? This is the power steering motor that goes under the column. Now we're going to get it reinstalled here in a little bit. And on the previous video, I accidentally, when I disassembled it, pulled this whole center column out and we had to disassemble the whole thing to get everything back aligned. Now where the leak was occurring on this, and I'll show you, so if you ever have to do this yourself, you know. The leak was occurring right here where the shaft actually went through. My tip, if you do disassemble this, as you pull this off, either some down pressure on this or maybe some gentle taps so you can kind of pull this off without pulling the shaft with it, because that's where I made my mistake. I got all the parts from Messick's on their online store. Actually, I ended up just calling them and talking to them. There's a dust seal, this washer, and then this seal here. And there is a snap ring as well, but I'm going to reuse the old one. It's always good to compare old parts with new. And then I also got this O-ring. This O-ring goes on the bottom side of this. I'm in this internal debate if it's going to be better to put the seal in first and try to slide it over, and then drop the washer and the dust seal in. Read the instructions, Mike. No. No, we're not. We're not doing it. You gotta get those shims in this collar perfectly centered up to be able to slide everything over. I do believe that the orientation of this does matter. Maybe not necessarily for the function of the unit, but for the mounting holes on it, for how it mounts back up in the tractor. And this is your standard reminder. I'm not a mechanic. I just can't afford one. Just gonna work that down on there. Feels like she fits pretty good. I just got a little Robertson screwdriver, not using a pick or a flathead or anything, nothing that'll mar up that seal. We're just kind of working her down and around. If you had a piece of pipe that was the exact diameter here, that would probably work really well too. And then that washer, little fella there, she's got a bevel. That seal I don't think is seated all the way yet, but this washer will help us get there. And there's a slot in there that snap ring sets into it. Now once I feel like I have enough clearance for this, that's where I stopped. And then we'll put that snap ring on there. Then we just listen for a super satisfying click. There she is. And we've got the dust seal, same thing. I'm just gonna make sure that surface is clean. Looks good. Suppose let's run these in and torque them up next. 34. Upper cover assembly. So, just gotta find the torque specs for the upper cover assembly. So before we torque these, it wants to put a hose clamp right there. You see that? On that notching right there. And I can understand why. There is a little movement, which means left to right, and the way that seal fits, there's a little plate. I don't have a hose clamp that side, but I've got a ring compression tool. I think that's going to accomplish the same thing. I'm going to clean this groove out. And it says, where to go? 18 to 22 foot-pounds. It looks good. It looks even all the way around. There's nothing overhanging or anything. I'm gonna double check the torque sequence on the bottom side. We'll start getting this thing put back together in the machine. We're getting a little rain in here, but that's good. It'll keep the moss watered for us. See if we can get this thing slid up in here. I did go ahead and put that collar on there. I think it's a lot easier to get that pin in while it's out of the machine. Oh. And we got these 4 hydraulic lines to hook up, which aren't too bad. Please don't make a liar out of me. So I got those 4 all snugged up. Next we're going to slide this headlight switch back in here. I took that out to give me a little bit more room getting those lines off there. So we'll get that headlight switch snugged back up. Now, believe it or not, when I took this off, I coated it all in oil so it wouldn't rust on me, but we still got a little rustage. There she goes. Actual steering column itself should be next, right? Anybody remember? Should have made a video on this. Should have made a video on this. How far down did that go? Like that? I guess so. Before we go any farther on this part of it, putting everything back together, I want to make sure we can actually fire this thing up and check for any leaks while we've got some good visibility on it. But I'm still waiting on the hoses from the hose shop, so we can't fire it up just yet. But there are a couple things we can do while we're waiting. One, I did pick up some spank new battery connectors. Check these out. Now these are some nice battery connectors. They come with protective covers. Very heavy duty. They're going to bolt on great. And then we crimp the connector on the end of the battery cable, and then it actually bolts on there. That will be a big improvement over the style that we currently have on there. Nice. I'm never getting that back. That is a pretty good looking battery connection, huh? Heat shrink, crimped ends, can't beat it. I love this style too, because if I ever want to add anything, like if I want to have an Anderson connector that dangles out for like jump starting or a solar charger or something like that, it's easy to just make up a wire and add a nut or put it on there and make it nice and neat. And then we got good old, oh, maybe first time, but here we go. Next thing we're going to go ahead and replace, so this is the proof meter cable that came off of the backhoe. It's all seized up in there, the end's missing, and the fellow might have been able to mess with it and get it working, but new ones are pretty daggone inexpensive. So let's get that hooked up. Just attaches right there below the oil filter. For reference, you should be able to spin these pretty easily. Shouldn't take a whole heck of a lot of effort. Next thing I want to do real quick, these are the lines for the air conditioning system. And I've got no intention, I don't know if that compressor actually worked or not, and honestly, I have no intention of finding out or messing with it. The pulley's messed up, and I'm sure the whole system itself is just not that great. Either way, I don't care if it's on here. So if there's components, like these hoses right here, they're in my way, we're just gonna go ahead and cut those. Apparently when I put this bolt in on the step for the battery box, I never actually put a nut on there. So I got 2 new lines in. I'm gonna use my new fancy kneeling pad, huh? That is a luxury I never thought I'd know. All right, I believe that one goes first. I'll just have her finger tight now, so we got a little bit of play. On that side of it. There we go. I did add just a little bit of bend on this one so that everything's tucked up behind the frame rail really nice. I feel I can bend that okay, as long as you kind of go slow and take your time. And I'm going to put some zip ties on these hoses to keep them together. And then we got to come up here and get these snugged and that bracket back on. Like that. I got those hooked up. I want to go ahead and put some hydraulic oil in the machine. And we'll pick that up later, of course. So I can make sure these new connections I put here don't actually leak. I'm getting some of the tires going real quick, and I just did a little feel here, and everything feels good. There's some moisture, but that's from when we took it off. There's no fresh, clean oil, and I put a little test tint down here, and there's no droppage on it. I'd say let's put the rest of the oil in and see what she does. So I got 2 stumps that I want to dig out. That's going to be like the first test with this. That's part of the expanding the parking area on the back side of the barn here. And I'm hoping we get this thing up and running. If you're watching this video, you already know, I guess. It's like a race car. You got to bring your own steering wheel. Why can't I move that? Even if it's not on, I should be able to move this. Like, it should still move. The concern is it's a hard stop. Like, there's a little left and right. But it is a hard stop. It moved when I put it in there. I made sure. Put the wheel on it, just like I did now. Why all of a sudden does it not? I'm optimistic. The wheels down there started turning a little bit. There's nothing puking out the top, but I think we got to add more. But I think we're gonna have to add more fluid, obviously. Oh yeah, of course we are. It's gonna take quite a bit. Wheels are turning, boys. We're gonna work them left and right all the way. Make sure we get all the air out of the system. I got worried because I saw fluid coming out, but that fitting right there, I forgot to tighten up. Good news is everything seems to be doing all right. Get this fixed up here. Okay. I don't see any seepage underneath here. Nothing's flowing out like crazy anyway. But there's nothing blowing out like crazy, and we're good and dry all the way around here, which looks pretty good. Let's get this dash reassembled and see if we can't try our hand at a couple stumps. Oh. That way nobody can steal your backhoe. This is the most fun you've ever had right here. This part. There was a notch on here that lines up that bolt has to go through, and then it's got like an interference fit style of nut that goes on it. Now this is a fun Thursday. This little collar is supposed to go there. And then there's a little bitty roll pin goes into that. And that goes down and rides on it like that. All right, well, we're as back together as I feel like getting today. That's for sure. Can we take a moment to appreciate how easy this thing starts? Come on, man. It would appear the tachometer still doesn't work, though. That's a bummer. We're making progress on it. I just can't get over how soft the ground is here. Every time I pull up with the boom, it just runs me down into the ground at the outriggers. We're covered in mud here, bud. That makes a fella pretty happy. I enjoyed that. Now we've got this feller here. It's a little bit bigger. We'll see how she does. Man, that makes the feller happy. Pretty cool. I do have a seep on that loader though. We're gonna see if snugging down a few hoses will take care of that little seep for us. Oh yeah, she was definitely loose. That looks a lot better. I got one other stump I want to take care of, and it's actually already out of the ground. Storm blew it down a few storms ago, I guess you could say. And I carried everything off that I could carry off with the 755, but the stump that's remaining is too big for the 755. That's a little awkward for a backhoe, but I want to try it. I want to see if we can get the 555 in there. Luckily it's mixed in with a bunch of poison ivy and briars, so that's good. We got that going for us. Oh, very lovely. Where'd the chain go? There it is. That's not gonna be long enough. I'm having a heck of a time getting the chain under the log because of the briars. I'm gonna get the log tongs and
see if we can't get the log tongs on the end and then rip her out. Keeps me from having to feed my hand through all that mess, you know? Hopefully she bites good enough. Ow. Here I thought it was slipping on the log. I guess this isn't made for pulling with backhoes. That is the first, I guess she'll just stay in there for a little bit. Nope, look at that, got her out. That's the first time I've used this thing for more than an hour. It was about an hour and a half run time. Everything did really well. There's a couple seeps and leaks on her yet, but overall, I'm not complaining. Man, is this thing gonna do good. And when I pushed into that dirt, I didn't know how much power this would have. I think it's only like a 62, 63 horse as far as that goes, and just two-wheel drive, but I think it might exceed my expectations. I think it's going to work really well. I'll show you a couple of the seeps and leaks, or the biggest one that's going to come up next. That cylinder seems to be doing fine, and the lift cylinder, the boom cylinder, seems to be doing fine, but that stick cylinder, she's got a pretty good seep on her, so that'll be coming off at some point in the future and rebuilding that cylinder. But everything else seems to be holding really well. I will say these outrigger hoses are going to be next on the replacement list. That being said, I will use a 755 to pick through these small pieces and carry them over to the burn pile whenever we do that. Exceeding my expectations. Right now I think we're right at $4,300 into it, which isn't too bad. I was hoping to be around 5 or 6 when it's all said and done. Maybe a little over 6 when it's all said and done, but I mean, we're gonna have a brand new machine. That's all I got on this one. Stay tuned for the next one. Probably using this machine again, either clearing some dead trees at the YouTube yacht and doing that burn pile, or doing this parking area on the back side of the shed, or back side of the barn, so the backhoe's actually got a new home. We got to get that mess cleaned up back there. It's gone on far too long. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you on the next one.